Wild Bill. 1. My first meeting with Wild Bill. Several months after the ending of the Civil War, I visited the city of Springfield in southwest Missouri. Springfield was not a borough of extensive dimensions, yet it was the largest in that part of the state. All roads led to it, which is one reason why it was the point de depot, as well as the base of operations for all military movements during the war. On a warm southern day, I sat watching the shadow of the broad awning and coming and going of the stage, half-civilized people who, from all over the country round, make this place a barter for trade. Men and women dressed in queer costumes, men with coats and trousers made from skin, but so thickly covered with dirt and grease that they defied the identity of the animal when walking in the flesh. Others wore homespun gear, which oftentimes appeared to have seen lengthy service. Many of those people were mounted on horseback or muleback, while others urged forward the unwilling cattle attached to a creaking, heavy-laden wagon, their drivers snapping their long whips with a report like that of a pistol shot. In front of the shops, which lined both sides of the main business street and about the public square, were groups of men lolling against posts, lying on the wooden stub walks, and sitting in chairs. These men were temporary or permanent denizens of the city, and were lazily occupied doing nothing. Then the most marked and characteristic of the inhabitants seemed to be an indisposition to move, and their highest ambition to let their hair and beards grow. Here and there among the streets, the appearance of the army blue betokened of the presence of the returned Union soldier, and a jaunty, confident air which they carried themselves was all the more striking in its contrast to the indolence which appeared to belong to the place. The only indication of action was the inevitable revolver in which everybody, except perhaps the women, wore around their persons. When people moved in this lazy city, they did so lowly and without method. No one seemed in haste. A huge hog wallowed in luxurious ease in a nice bed of mud on the other side of the way, giving vent to gentle grunts of satisfaction. On the platform at my feet there lay a large wolf dog, literally asleep with one eye open. He, too, seemed contented to let the world wag its idly on. The loose, lazy spirit of the occasion finally took possession of me, and I sat and gazed and smoked, and if it was possible I might have fallen into a Rip Van Winkle sleep by the time I'd been roused 10 years hence, and cried, "Passengers of the flying machine to New York, all aboard!" when I was drowsing the city around into life and shadow of the flashing hoofs of its horse, which dashed furiously across the square and down the street. The rider sat perfectly erect, yet following with a motion of grace, and only in the horsemen of the plains, the rise and fall of the galloping steed. There was only a moment to observe this, for they halted suddenly, while the rider, springing to the ground, approached the party which the noise had gathered near me. "This here is Wild Bill, Colonel," said Captain Honesty, an army officer addressing me, and he continued, "How are you, Bill? This here is Colonel who wants to know your year. Let me at once describe the personal appearance of this famous scout of the plains, William Hickok, called Wild Bill, who now advanced towards me, fixing his clear gray eyes on mine in a quick, interrogative way, as if to say, 'My pleasure.' The result seemed favorable, for he held forth a small, muscular hand in a frank, open manner. I looked at him as thought the handsomest physique I'd ever seen. In its exuberant manly proportions it recalled the antique. It was a figure Ward would delight to the model, a companion to his Indian. Bill stood 6 feet and an inch in his bright yellow moccasins. A deerskin shirt and frock, you might have called it, hung jauntily over his shoulders and revealed a chest whose breadth and depth were remarkable. These lungs had grown in some 20 years of the free air in the Rocky Mountains. His small, round waist was girthed with a belt which held 2 Colt Navy revolvers. His legs sloped gradually from the compact thigh to the feet, which were small and turned inward as he walked. There was a regular grace and dignity of carriage about that figure which would have called your attention, meet it where it would. The head, which was crowned, now covered with a large sombrero, underneath which there shone out a quiet, manly face, so gentle in expression as he greets you as utterly as to belly a history of its owner. Yet it was not a face to be trifled with. The thin lips insensitive, and the jaw not too square. The cheekbones highly prominent, and mass of fine dark hair falls below the neck and shoulders. Now that you are in friendly intercourse, are as gentle as a woman's. In truth, the woman nature seems prominent throughout, and would not believe that you are looking into the eyes that have pointed the way of death to hundreds of men. Yes, Wild Bill, with his own hands, has killed hundreds of men. Of that I have not doubt. He shoots to kill, as I say on the border. In vain did I examine the scout's face for some evidence of murderous propensity. It was a gentle face, and a singularly sharp and a sharp angle of the eye, and without any physiological reason for my opinion. I have thought this wonderful accuracy of aim was indicated by his peculiarity. He told me, however, to use his own words, "I always shoot well, but I come to the perfect in the mountains by shooting at a dime for a mark, and I bet's a $50 a shot. And then, until the war, I never drank liquor nor smoked." He continued with a melancholy expression. "War is demoralizing, isn't it?" Captain Honestly was right. I was very curious to see Wild Bill with his scout, who, a few days before my arrival in Springfield, in a duel at noonday in the public square, at 50 paces, had sent one of Colt's pistol balls through the heart of a returned Confederate soldier. Whenever I had met the officer or soldier who had served in the Southwest, I heard of Wild Bill and his exploits, until these stories became so frequent and such extraordinary character as quite to outstrip the personal knowledge of an adventure by camp or field. And the hero of those strange tales took shape in my mind as did Jack the Giant Killer, or Sinbad the Sailor in childhood days. As then, I now had the most implicit faith in the existence of it, but how one man could accomplish such prodigies of strength and feats of daring was a continued wonder.